Good afternoon, Jim.
Hi, how are you?
Well, good. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I wanted to ask you about the US Navy's detection of an acoustic anomaly consistent with an implosion shortly after the Titan lost contact on Sunday. I just wondered, given that, why this incredibly expensive and extensive rescue operation ever launched. Was that misplaced, do you think?
Well, I can never be sure. There's a lot of things that go down underwater, and you know, apparently the U.S. told the Coast Guard about it, but they had to be sure. They had to. I don't blame them for trying to search it. They really did need to get a ROV, operating vehicle, down to the site to verify.
Mm. And of course, that is what has now happened. Given the conditions down there, do you think it is going to be possible to retrieve the bodies of the five men or not?
Be honest with you, it's definitely a tragedy, but in my opinion, there's nothing to recover. That catastrophic event is uh, is a total disaster,
Mm. I mean, we
and there's
talk
not
about.
much. And knowing that, at least the families could know that their loved ones died instantly.
Mm. And that's what an implosion means, just a complete. I mean, you think of an implosion as the opposite of an explosion, but can you explain it any better than that?
Uh, Not really. It's it takes all the air that's inside it and just completely sucks it out, and there's basically nothing left.
Mm.
It's an explosion.
I mean, were you familiar with Ocean Gate before this week? Did you share these safety concerns that had been aired?
No, I wasn't aware of Ocean Gate and what they're trying to do. But when I heard about it, I thought it's definitely risky. There's no doubt about that.
And is that because of what the submersible was made of, the carbon fiber and titanium hull that we've heard about, or just the fact that they weren't really, there's not regulations that they were complying with?
Now, yeah, the way it was done. The thing was wrapped with Kevlar, 5 inches of Kevlar, and the two end caps were titanium. And just knowing that kind of questions, the reliability on it. And then I heard it has made multiple trips down to that depth, and the fact that it was deemed experimental. That every time you go down to a depth like that, it weakens the pressure vessel in some
Right.
way, and without testing, and that was a big thing. I just don't, he tested it down to 3,000 meters, which is about 9,000 feet, and didn't test it the rest of the way.
Mm.
I mean, that's why it imploded, because it just wasn't tested.
And that's extraordinary, really, when you think about it. Really, this was an accident waiting to happen. It could have happened at any point.
That's correct. It was definitely preventable. Here in the United States, when we talk about pressure vessels, we have instructions, we have certifications that we have to go by. We got a PVHO, which is a pressure vessel for human occupancy. They got a bunch of rules on how pressure vessel is built. Uh, NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, governs anything electrical that goes into the a manned pressure vessel. So it's all about whether it's manned or not, and we're talking. I mean, we're talking depths of a couple thousand feet. Now when you talk about 13,000 feet, it's a whole different world.
Mm. And given all of those dangers that you very clearly set out, do you think this kind of tourism is remotely sustainable? Have human or manned trips to the Titanic got to just end?
You know, I can imagine that's a dream for everybody to go down there and look at the Titanic. Um, to me, I just think that that depth is it's such a harsh environment. So many things can happen, and nobody can get to you in a quick amount of time, that we ought to stay away from it.
So you share criticism of the hubris really involved in this whole event, not being insensitive to the tragedy here.
Yeah, I mean, we got submarines that don't even go down to that depth. It's a very, you know, it it's just too deep, and the
Mm.
pressure is just too much.
So do you think there needs to be explicit regulation preventing any of these kind of manned trips to that depth?
I think if they follow certain certifications, and and that certification is good enough for those depths, then they can go. But it's just to use commercial off-the-shelf items like you did, and a kind of experimental type of pressure vessel hull. Um, that's just not the way to go.